Welcome to the Floyd Memorial Library podcast, where we sit down with the people who give shape, texture, and voice to life on the North Fork of Long Island. Some are rooted here by generations, others arrived by chance or choice, but all carry with them a piece of the story. We talk about what's changing, what's worth holding on to, and the currents of history, both quiet and loud, that run through this place. I'm your host, Christopher Bianchi, and for episode 235, we sit down with David Higbee, who was born and raised in Greenport and whose roots in the village run deep. In our conversation, we talk about his family's ancestry, his memories of growing up in Greenport, and the path that eventually took him away. We also explore his return in the 1990s and how the village had changed in his absence, what felt familiar, what didn't, and his reflections on what Greenport has become today. Along the way, we also touch on his involvement with the North Fork's Tuesday Crew, a group of local volunteers who have spent decades restoring and preserving historic sites across the region, quietly shaping the very landscape they call home. So I hope you enjoy episode 235 with David Higbee. This episode was recorded March 2nd, 2026. Thank you so much for coming on the Floyd Memorial Library podcast today. It's really great to have you on today.
You're welcome. Happy to do it. Hope I can fill in a blank or two.
Yeah.
In terms of Greenport's history or whatever.
Yes. No, but usually in the beginning, I'd like to just start off a little bit with your family's history and how did they make their way out to Greenport?
Well, on my father's side, they go back to the King family, who came down from New England, as I understand it, in the 1630s, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And my father's mother, my grandmother, was a Vale, and the Vale family was connected to the King family going back generations.
Mm-hmm.
And also to the Wiggin. Her maiden name was Mary Vale Wiggins.
Mm-hmm.
And her father was Andrew Wiggins, who was the guy who had the house built on First Street here, where...
We're right on the corner from...
Not on the corner, no, next to Munsell. Roselle Borelli.
Oh, the purple.
Right.
Yes.
Right. So, and that was the Wiggins house. We Higbees lived across the street from the library here, 544 First Street.
Yes.
On the corner there. So my grandmother had connections back to the King family, who originally came down here from New England. And my mother was the fifth child of an immigrant Irish family.
Mm-hmm.
Came from Ireland. Quite a bit of a story there, but she was the youngest of five children. They lived in Southampton, where her father... There's not a lot of knowledge about the Patton family.
Mm-hmm.
Thomas Patton, I think his first name was. I think he was an electrician over there. And not much, even though I've tried to obtain information about background for the Pattons, Patten, but next to nothing. The only very little bit of information I have came from my aunt, my mother's sister,
Mm-hmm.
who I talked to a little bit before she passed away 20 years ago. So it was an immigrant Irish mother and a Protestant WASP. My father,
Mm-hmm.
whose family goes back a long way
Mm-hmm.
out here. And so that's, they got married in 1927, I think. And I think they eloped because her family wouldn't accept him because he wasn't Catholic and had nothing to do with them or their grandchildren, my family. they came over. The family lore has it that they came over, visited my mother about 1940, shortly before they each passed away. So there was very little interaction. She was very good friends with her brothers and sister, but not with her parents. So,
Did they both go to high school here? Your parents?
My mother, my father did. He went to high school here in Greenport.
But you said that family was from Southampton originally.
Yeah. I actually, that's something I can do some checking into, because she would have graduated. She was born in 1905 and probably would have graduated about 1922, somewhere in there. Had she graduated? I don't know. I had never thought about that.
Yeah.
Tracking that information down.
Yes.
Anyway, so there were 6 of us: Jonas, Andrew, Nancy, Marianne, myself, David, my younger brother, Peter. And now there are only Peter and myself left. And we all went to Greenport schools, graduated from Greenport High School, except for my sister Nancy, who was deaf from birth and had learning disabilities. And that's another long story. But all the rest of us graduated from Greenport High School.
And were born at Eastern Long Island Hospital.
Right. My 2 older brothers were born there. My older sister, Marianne, was not born there. She was born in the house across the street because my mother believed that the condition that my sister Nancy was in, deaf and learning challenged, was because of the way she was born, or something went wrong in the birth process in the hospital.
Okay.
So Marianne was born at home, but myself and my younger brother Peter, she went back to the hospital where I was born, right? And my brother Peter.
And then just about your parents, what did your parents do for a living?
Well, my mother was just a stay-at-home mom. She did some, over the years, took care of elderly people. There was a Mrs. Mosier who lived down the street, whom my mother took care of for a year or so. My father was a carpenter. He spent 8 years in the Marine Corps in the 1920s, and was part of the occupation of Haiti back in those days, in the 20s. Was a corporal in the Marine Corps, and a long story about why he ended up in the Marine Corps as well, but he was a bit of a misbehaving young man, got into trouble, wrecked several cars, and the story is that he was admonished by a judge to, for some infraction, get out of town, join the service, and grow up. And he did. He was in the Marine Corps for 8 years, got out, met my mother, married, and started the family. And the house at that time on 544 First Street was owned by Caroline Wiggins, my great aunt, the other daughter of Andrew Wiggins, who lived down the street.
Yeah.
So that's how we ended up in that house.
Okay. And also, did you get to meet some of your grandparents?
No.
No?
They were all gone before I...
Okay.
Well, maybe they weren't gone before I was born, but certainly before I was...
You wouldn't remember that.
1 or 2 years old, yeah.
Yeah. But then you said your dad came back after the war and was working as a carpenter in Greenport area.
Right. He worked at a job at the shipyard in Greenport, apparently in the late 30s. He struggled. He started a tire business on Front Street, and it didn't work out. That I have no proof of that. That's just family gossip. But he was working at that the boatyard, the shipyard there in Greenport, where Clark's, it used to be before Clark, I forget the name. And, but after Pearl Harbor was bombed, he joined the Navy and was gone for 4 years.
Wow. Do you remember them saying what they thought of Greenport? What your dad thought of Greenport or your mom at that time?
Well, my my mother's attitude about Greenport can be described by the action she took with respect to my older brothers and myself. She basically ran us out of town after we graduated from high school. She was not interested in having us stay around. And
that was in like 1958 you graduated high school.
Right. My brothers graduated. Well, my oldest brother quit. And that's when she told him either go join the Army, you're not staying here, which is what he did. And my next brother, Andrew, joined the Navy in 1948 after he graduated. And my mother was adamant about me, particularly with respect to my heavy involvement with my high school sweetheart, Connie Delala. She was afraid we were going to end up getting married or get into trouble or something and get married. And so she did her best to ensure that I left town too. So that was her. She didn't have a lot of good to say about living in Greenport back then. My father knocked around after he came back from the war, and one carpentry job after another. We lost the house because they couldn't afford to pay the taxes. Itinerant living for a while, and finally ended up in what was called Cardboard City.
Yes. Over by the
Greenport
school.
Homes. And then my father bought the house on 600 Main Street. And that's where we lived when I was a junior in high school. By then, he was a member of the American Legion, was one of the commanders after World War II, and then became adjutant, I think. And when the skating rink, they purchased a skating rink, it burned down. They built a replacement, which is the building still there, and he became the manager in 1953.
Wow.
Until he had a bad car accident and had difficulty moving around about 1960, and lived on pretty much Social Security and handouts after that.
Yes.
For the remaining time he was alive. So my mother died in 63. He died in 67.
Okay. And well, just for you growing up in that household with your siblings, how was it for you as a child in Greenport, and maybe what activities would you do outside? Or
we had a rough time. I mean,
you weren't.
When he was away during the war, you have to say when Pearl Harbor occurred, he was I think 40 years old. He had 5 children, and he still joined the Navy and left. Left my mother with 5 children, and then a 6th was born after he came back on leave in 42. My brother was born at the end of 42. So when he came back for a while, I guess with Navy bonuses and back pay and all that sort of thing, life was good for a while. He and another carpenter named Bob Ketchum built houses, a house in East Marion and a couple in Southold, I believe. So things for a while were pretty good, but it didn't last. There was a lot of trouble. No heat in the house. Meals were. There was a lot of handouts from local fishermen who brought stuff from their catch and gave it to my mother. that sort of thing, until he got the job. The job at managing the skating rink, other than the Marine Corps and the Navy, was the first full-time job he had. So, and then there for a while, while he was working at the skating rink and so on, a steady income and so on, things got better for the family. But by then my brothers were gone.
And you were getting ready to...
I was getting ready to graduate, and my brother he graduated in 1960, so things were never really good. It was tolerable, in the late 50s kind of thing. Getting back to the question about what my parents thought about Greenport, my father was a native, and my mother had reservations about her family staying here. So we were programmed to get out. And that's what we all did. Except my sister, she ended up in Southall, but she married a local guy after high school and raised a family in Southall.
What about just, say, getting into middle school and high school, whether outside of school on weekends, what would you be doing, or just hanging out and walking around?
That's a sweet shop.
Paradise Suites.
Paradise Suites, the skating rink, the movie house. Those were the movie house and the movie theater, and the skating rink were our main
playground of
our main sources of entertainment. And, school dances and things like that. Then in like 57, maybe 58, the American Legion, they started a Friday night dance for youth, rock and roll and so on. And a friend of mine had a car. We would go bouncing around and so on. But we were pretty much, how to say it, parochial in a way, because hitchhiking to go to Riverhead, which we did as young kids, was going to Riverhead was like going to the city.
Yes.
It was a big deal.
Yes.
Going to the theater there or whatever. It was a music store. Go and listen to rock and roll records and so on. Swimming, this town beach in the summertime. When I was a young kid, all our family always spent summers at a bungalow that my aunt and uncle owned just west of what is now Clark's Beach County property, County Park. It's going to be a park someday.
Yes.
That place, we used to call it the bungalow. It was very important to us, a source of a lot of joyful times, and so it was local stuff basically that and we engaged in.
Would you go fishing or?
That's one thing I've talked about this many times with my brother and my other family members when we were alive. Other men in Greenport would go oysters, scallops, fishing. My father never did any of that, and he never introduced us as children to that. And there were times when, as I said before, food was scarce and times were tough, and there was all kinds of food available in the bays and so on for the taking, and we never learned how to do that. I was always, he just never was interested in that at all. So no, we didn't. We did a lot of swimming in the Sound, in the bay, off the railroad dock. Not the one that's there now. The one that was there before was a true railroad dock. They used to store passenger cars out on the dock.
Wow.
And we used to keep bathing suits down underneath the rafters and so on, and go down and change. And so a lot of beach activities.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned Paradise Suites. Were there any other stores?
The Coronet.
The Coronet. Well, there was 2 bowling alleys.
There was a bowling alley. I think it's
Santa Cruz. Santa Cruz.
Santa Cruz, right? In the now health spa or something.
Oh,
Just west of
yes.
The gas station there on Front Street.
Pilates. Next to the
Is that
Mr.
what that is?
Robert.
Yeah. Yeah, I used to go in there, shoot pool, set up pins in the bowling alley, 10 cents a game, and that's what I used to pay for shooting pool.
Yeah.
And there was another bowling alley underneath one of the buildings on Front Street.
Oh, by Aldo's.
Yeah, I don't know what was there,
So that's
but it was down in the basement, and it was only, I think it was only 2 lanes, if I remember correctly.
Mm-hmm.
I only was down in it a handful of times, so I don't know who owned it.
Yeah.
But yeah, you reminded me, the pool hall was, especially when I was 14, 15, wintertime. But Paradise Suites and Coronet, what they now call the coffee beans or something, coffee.
Oh, Crazy Bean.
Crazy Bean. What a stupid Southampton-ish, Hamptons-ish name. That was a place after I was on the football team all the years in high school, and sometimes, I guess, maybe every home game, in our senior year anyway, the father of Porky Slajeski, his son Richard was on the team. He was in my class. He would treat the whole team to pie and ice cream sodas at the Coronet, which was a big deal.
But he had the place up by where the Lynn House is.
Right,
so.
right. That was Porky's restaurant.
Yeah.
Very popular place.
Now, was Mitchell's and Claudio's was that more for tourists, or did locals go there as much?
I think I know the businessmen, what is it called, the Businessmen's Association,
Met there.
They had lunch there, I think, once a month.
Okay.
But I guess local people did go. I didn't start going in there until, I was not quite of age, but they probably knew that I wasn't of age, but they served me anyway.
Yeah.
And local people, I don't know, I guess they did. I don't know, the upper echelon of society in Greenport probably did, yeah.
Yeah.
And Claudio's as well.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think, the people in the stratus of my family,
they're mostly eating at home.
Yeah.
Just whatever they could make. Yeah.
Yeah, there was no going to any restaurants.
Yeah.
When we were, as a family, no way.
No.
That just didn't happen.
Yeah.
Claudio's and Mitchell's, they were very popular restaurants, but with the more well-to-do professional people in Greenport and elsewhere out here on the North Fork, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But the skating rink, I mean, people used to come from South Old Mattituck to go to a movie, have a meal at one of the, like over on the Wyandank, which is no longer there. The building that was called Sterlington Hotel. It's called Duffy's by local people. Have a meal there. Maybe go to the skating rink a skating rink was a big deal for this town. I mean, it was Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday nights, and Sunday afternoon, and it was always packed
Mm-hmm.
until TV started proliferating in homes, and common activities like that started to go away.
And the 50s was really the rise of TV,
For sure, yeah.
with a lot of people watching.
I remember, I mean, very few people had TVs, but, the next to the library here was the house is no longer there, but it was the Campbell family lived there. He
Mhm.
owned the Ford car sales place down on Front Street.
Mm-hmm.
It was located where the post office is now. And we used to go there, lived across the street. Andy and Danny Campbell were friends of ours. We used to play in the neighborhood and so on, and watch the Friday night fights. That was a big deal.
Yeah.
Sugar Ray Robinson and Rocky Marciano and all that.
Yeah.
And my family didn't get a TV until we were living in Cardboard City, several years later.
Wow.
But that was in the late 50s, before we moved away from the house on First Street. But I don't think we got a TV until like 56 or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Would you come to the library?
Oh yeah, a lot.
A lot.
Across the street, Mrs. Pemberton was the librarian. Shh.
Yeah.
She was one of.
Is it Gladys Pemberton or Gladys Pemberton?
I don't really know. I don't really remember what her first name was.
But you always were getting shushed when
Yeah,
you...
right. And the Bobbsey twins and various other books for kids.
Mm-hmm.
I took and read. Reading was a big deal, actually. Talk about what we used to do. I spent a lot of time reading. So, Westerns,
Westerns.
Louis L'Amour,
Yes.
What
about the Hardy Boys?
That I never did.
No.
I don't know why, but I may have tried it, but I don't remember.
Yeah.
I was not too, maybe 12 years old when I started kind of reading adult books. I remember the first paperback I picked up my aunt. It was a Mike Hammer. He was a detective.
Oh, yes. Yes.
And, tough ex-Marine guy and all this, and very exciting detective. And I remember reading, I'm trying to remember the name of the book, but can't remember. But it was the first adult book I picked up.
Yeah.
And from there, it was like, okay,
Yeah.
opened up a whole new world,
Yeah.
So.
And so for school, you went all through the main building. Well, obviously, just
From kindergarten to 12, K-12. Yeah.
And how was that overall experience?
I look back on it now fondly. I mean, by the time I was in, 14, 15, I was itching to be a James Dean rebel and, get the hell out of town. And I hated everything. And Harry Wilson, that teacher that I mentioned earlier, I guess I didn't mention on the tape here, he was a homeroom teacher and an English teacher. He helped me kind of become a little more focused and, stop the rebellion stuff. And so basically, I remember, being in kindergarten, first, second grade, third grade, fourth grade, fifth grade, sixth grade, Mr. Cummings, first male teacher, seventh grade, eighth grade, I don't remember too much about, but then high school.
Mm-hmm.
So I was a good student and did well, and without a lot of effort. So I was content in school. I was vice president of the class from 7th grade through 12. So a certain degree of popularity there.
And you said you played football.
Right, that was the only sport I played. I tried baseball, but not maybe, I don't know, it was in a game or a practice. I was either shortstop or second base, and I caught a ground ball with my face. And that was the end of my being able to be an infielder. And I was a small kid, so I couldn't hit worth a damn. And but football, if you showed up, you were on the team. That's the way it was back then. It was all Greenport, not
Yes.
not the three
It
different
wasn't
districts now
South
they have
Hold
now.
and Mattatuck.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah. Good, because there were enough kids to staff the football team. And it was very successful, 4 years. Dory Jackson, the coach, tremendous football coach, high school football coach, and I think he's now in the Suffolk County Hall of Fame. And Dude Memorin, another teacher who had graduated, well, like maybe my brothers knew him well, so they graduated at the same time together. And Dude came back to Greenport as a history teacher, probably 55, something like that, and became an assistant football coach. So it was a very, very successful team. I think while I was playing, we tied one game in the 4 years. It was undefeated in our senior year. I know that. So,
What about? I've heard the name Coach Van Digney. Have you heard Van Digney?
no,
No, that might have been later
had to be.
in the '60s.
The
Um,
the other coach, if I had the yearbook, I'd show it to you. But Dory Jackson was baseball and football, and this other guy was basketball, and both of them ran track teams.
Okay.
They were both very nice, good teachers, good coaches.
And what would you say in terms of subject matter, what you gravitated towards in high school?
Well, I thought I was a mathematician, but in my senior year, trigonometry proved to me that I was not. I barely passed the Regents exam. My teacher, Mr. Eggert, somehow managed to get me a Circle 65 on the Regents exam, so my Regents diploma was not jeopardized by failing the trig exam. But so I was more interested in history, and took an interest more in history than mathematics. And I was curious about science, but not real good at that either. So,
but you said your mentor or teacher was
Harry Wilson.
Harry Wilson.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he was an English teacher, and he introduced me to Shakespeare. I fought it all the way, but he kept English classes lively and interesting, and the material we were going through and so on. He was a stickler for grammar, always yelling at me to learn how to use commas, and he was an enthusiastic teacher, and so I learned a lot from him. And I also learned that the better course was not to be a wise guy, but to calm down and pay attention.
Yeah.
The other teachers, we had a teacher named Mr. Carruthers who he taught world history and world geography, things like that, which he was very stern. And other teachers, my French teacher, 3 years of French, Mr. Bombardier, a guy who had been on Eisenhower's staff and
Wow.
during the war. He spoke French, obviously, fluently, and another hell of a good teacher, hell of a nice man. Mrs. Diller, who was the guidance counselor.
Mm-hmm.
I used to say lack of guidance counselor because she was, to my way of thinking, she wasn't worth a damn. Disparage people on a recording like this, but she wasn't very much help in high school. I mean, in terms of directing, helping people get to where they, at different colleges, that sort of thing, introducing them to the ideas of college. I remember one time she invited me in for, I guess, maybe a mandatory review or discussion in my senior year, and she said, "Okay, what are you going to do after you graduate?" And I was near the top of my class, grade-wise.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "Well, I plan to join the Navy." She said, "Good, join the Navy." And that was the guidance she gave me.
Yeah.
Well, I learned later that I could have somehow managed, because of Mr. Carruthers, actually, who was associated with Syracuse University, somehow maybe had ended up there. I passed an opportunity to get into the Naval Academy, largely because I was terrified of the prospect. I was young and immature. I really seriously lacked confidence. And so that's why I say when Mrs. Diller, guidance counselor, was of no help to me, she just sort of encouraged the less challenging course for me. And
like thinking outside of that.
right,
Just go that.
right,
Yeah.
exactly. Not a help at all.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there were several graduating class went to college.
But did you say your older brothers went into
They went into the service.
the
Yeah.
service?
Right. And so my mother, like I said before,
wanted you all to.
she wanted me out of town because she saw, the relationship I had with this Connie Delala.
And in terms of opportunities in the village,
Yeah, no, there was no. I mean, fishing, agriculture. That's what the town was.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, the businesses they did well, I think. People used to come from, there were 2 5 and dime stores.
Mm.
There were several, a couple women's dress shops, men's clothing, a couple of shoe stores.
Jaegers.
Jaeger.
Jaegers.
Jaeger, five and dime, right?
Yeah, Jaegers.
Where the bank, or now it's a part of Northwell Health or something.
Yes.
The bank building there, next to still the existing bank, Chase Bank.
Yes.
And Jaegers was there. I used to rob him blind, steal toys and so on.
Okay. Like penny candy and stuff.
Yeah, it was yeah, a little nickel, nothing more than a nickel, basically. 5 and dime, that's what it was called.
5 and dime. Wasn't there a smoke shop next to Aldo's?
There was.
Where the schoolhouse is now. I forgot what it's called.
Martosha?
Oh, Martosha.
Right. There was two brothers. One was a barber. And that's the other thing about Greenport. Greenport had several barbers, several gas stations, and several bars.
Mm-hmm.
And they all did well, I mean,
there was enough to go around.
Enough, people living in the village and people coming from the rest of the North Fork, Orion, East Marion, for those types of services, shopping for clothing. Mm-hmm. There were several independent local grocery stores around the town. until the AMP came to town.
You
They
could get
opened
all your stuff at these different stores.
Right. Yeah, there were several,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean like 6 or 7.
Mm-hmm.
Just Rouse's was way up north. There were 2, one on 5th Street, one on 6th Street. There was Bill's grocery store across one block away from here
Mm-hmm.
on Main Street. And when the AMP came to town, had to be like maybe after the war, 1945. They were in that building where I think the other local store that I know was owned by a local person. She sold it a couple of years ago. Next to Bruce and Son, I think it was in that building. My brother Andrew worked there for a year or two before he joined the Navy, and then they moved to. I don't know if they took over an existing building or what, but it fronted on Front Street and went to Adams Street in the back. It was one whole block, and that was my first real job there. Bagging groceries and stocking shelves when I was a junior in high school. But the AMP drove all those other smaller stores out of business.
Yeah.
And then later it moved to where it's currently, where the IGA is now. That used to be a big apartment building block there when I was a kid.
And do you remember, I don't know when it was knocked down, maybe in the 50s or 60s, the old opera house? Was that was next to the Chase Bank, where I thought the Peconic Medical...
the opera house? I don't
Or
remember.
maybe it was in that parking lot next to the bank.
I thought it was next to the, on the corner of Center Avenue and Main Street, that big building that's still there.
The auditorium?
Yeah, the auditorium. I thought the Opera House was next to that. Maybe not.
Maybe. But that was knocked down. I think it was in bad shape.
I don't really remember that. I remember the Clark House, which was where Sterling.
Oh yes, Sterling Historical
Society. The building is now.
Yeah.
It was there.
That was a big hotel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was the Clark House, the Sterlington, Wine Dank hotels.
And that was demolished, the
Right.
Wine Dank. Yeah.
Right. That little shopping center in there where there's a deli there and a pizza place.
Yeah,
I
the
think.
pizza place.
Of course, from the skating rink.
Yes.
Yeah.
But also just to go forward, you mentioned after high school going into the Navy, and you said you were in there for a little, for how long?
11 years. Yeah.
11 years?
Yeah.
Where were you based out of?
I moved around the world quite a bit. I spent a lot of time in the Far East, mainly Japan, the Middle East, mainly Turkey, as they like to say it, North Africa, Europe.
Wow.
Yeah, the Navy tested me. I did well on a language test, and they sent me to Russian language school and other schools to learn various skills and so on. And I spent a lot of time moving around the world. And
You picked up Russian.
Russian language.
Russian
I was
language,
fluent
wow.
in it back then, not so
Wow.
much now.
And
In fact, not at all now. But I mean, once you start not using it, you lose it.
Mhm.
And that, I sort of, when I left that field, I went to college and law school, and I wanted to get away from all that very foolishly. I should have stayed with it, but I didn't. And so my life took a different turn, and I didn't stay current with the language or reading Russian or anything.
Mhm.
So I just lost it. Amazing how quickly it goes. And the first thing that goes are the verbs. You forget all the verbs.
Mhm.
It's amazing. But anyway,
But
so
that was a crucial time during the Cold War.
from 58 to about 1970,
Mhm. What
period of
did
the 60s, the decade.
was that uh, in terms of your own experience? Was that a stressful time?
Well, it kept us busy. And
Occupied
uh,
with stuff. Yeah.
I knew they didn't have to convince me of the righteousness of the cause of the United States versus the Soviet Union.
Hmm.
I was a Cold Warrior, so to speak. Cliche, but um, I considered myself to be that. And I knew the work I was involved in was very important and at times could be very, very boring and tedious. But every once in a while, there was that moment when something important happened, and I knew it, even if only in some small way, contributed to our defense against this monstrous regime in
Hmm.
Moscow. Um, so yeah, I was happy doing it, but I got to the point where after the, the Vietnam War started, after Tet, the whole year of 1968,
Hmm.
worst year in American history, I believe, started with the taking of the Pueblo, Tet offensive, the assassinations,
Hmm.
the Democratic National Committee meeting in Chicago, the convention in
Hmm.
Chicago, the student riots, the cities burning, the whole damn year was a disaster. And the Christmas bombing at the end,
Hmm.
it was horrible. And I began to not question the correctness of our cause or what the work I was doing, but I somehow wanted more and began to get an urge to go do something else.
Hmm.
So I left that work, went to school, went to law school, and should have stayed with foreign affairs and that sort of thing, which is where my real interests were, but veered towards domestic law, criminal law, that kind of thing, and none of that ever worked out. I
Mm.
ended up a career with the federal government and retired from that in the late 90s.
Yeah, okay. And and then we talked before you would eventually make your way back to the North Fork in the
Right,
late '90s
right.
or
My
mid
my
'90s.
brother, his wife passed away in 1990. He died in 1995. I was the executor of his will and couldn't unload the house. The two of the people who took the house under his will were his sisters-in-law. They really harassed me about getting their money, and the only way I could close out the estate was to sell the house, and I couldn't sell the house. This is in the mid '90s. The real estate market around here was down, then just then beginning to pick up.
Hmm.
And so I bought it myself because I needed to have a change of scenery, professional wise and personal wise. In the '90s, the woman I was with back then, that's another
That's another
ancillary
story.
story. But so I bought the house off the estate, spent like 3 years fixing it up, was unable to decide what to do, and so bought a house in Southold, and I've been here ever since,
Hmm. And
waiting for something to happen.
but between that time, like the early '60s until the 90s, were you still visiting the North Fork?
I was when my brother was out here,
Mm-hmm.
and I had my sister lived in Southold with her children, and I was married, had a couple of kids in 69,
Mm-hmm.
and two kids born in the early 70s, and we would come up to visit, regular, I mean, once, twice a year.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I witnessed the evolution of Greenport
Mm-hmm.
from a pretty much thriving, compact, self-reliant village that had pretty much everything that people needed in
Mm-hmm.
terms of clothing stores, shoe stores, services. The school was doing really well. There were the hospital was thriving.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a good self-sufficient little town,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of agriculture. The farmers would come and buy their groceries at A&P on Saturday afternoons and so on. The fishing boats would come in and patronize Helen's and what later became Myers bars, and also the ladies of the night over on Madame Pam's
Oh, I've
institution.
heard of Madame Pam.
Yeah, on one little anecdote. The on Friday nights, the ladies would come from somewhere west
On the train?
on the train, dressed to the nines, all dolled up, perfume, and I and a couple other guys would go down and meet the train and offer to carry their bags to where they were going to work along the railroad tracks. We used to call it Cement City. I don't know what ever happened to all of it, but and they were very generous. They carry a bag for a couple of blocks and get 50 cents. It was at first I didn't understand what they were or
You're
who
just
they
like,
were.
oh, these are ladies just
Ladies,
getting
right,
off.
that serviced the men from the fishing boats.
Mm-hmm.
The scallop boats and so on and so forth.
Yes.
And maybe even some of the local townsfolk too. Who knows?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I have no doubt actually, but I didn't know that for sure. But
Yeah.
as
No,
I
that's
say,
interesting.
yeah, initially I didn't quite understand who they were or what they were doing, but I caught on after a while. They were nice, beautiful young women, African American, most of them.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so that was a development, and the town, I think, continued to thrive through the '60s, and maybe TV and people having automobiles, doing the shopping west of here, Riverhead, and that kind of thing. I remember when Smithtown, what we called Smithtown Mall, was Smith Haven,
Mm-hmm.
was built in the early '50s, I think. And people
Okay.
started driving that 40 miles, 45 miles
Yeah.
to do some shopping. It's a big shopping mall.
Mm-hmm.
So, the commercial dynamics started changing dramatically.
Mm-hmm.
And, then the entertainment, the skating rink, the movie theater, probably good 60s got on hard times because people were staying home watching TV
Mm-hmm.
and instead of going to the movies, and dancing and so on. Community dances
Mm-hmm.
probably largely became a thing of the past. So
We started to probably in the 70s and 80s started to see closed storefronts and
right, and there's a lot of talk back then about Title 8, Title 7 housing,
housing.
and a lot of people who I know, including my brother and his then to be wife, believed that there were a lot of absentee landlords, so to speak, people who from out of town, from somewhere west, New York City, who knows where, west on Long Island, down the island somewhere, came out here, purchased these places, and ran them into the ground, didn't maintain them, rented them to people who were on welfare,
Mm-hmm.
And that drew people who a lot of the old timers thought were unworthy
Mm. Okay.
people,
Yeah.
prejudiced
Mm-hmm.
against them. And that continued, I guess, until the late 80s
Mm-hmm.
when some kind of turnaround began. I wasn't really aware of what was going on then. I think Capel became mayor in like 1990, something like that.
Yeah.
And things started changing. His vision for the town square, the Mitchell Park,
Mm-hmm.
after the restaurant had burned down, I mean, it was a visionary thing. It was a really
Mm-hmm.
good move he made. He engineered, as I
Mm-hmm.
understand it, engineered that whole deal pretty
Mm-hmm.
much. Got the Mitchell family on board, and
Mm-hmm.
they helped out financially and so on. So,
Because that kind of just stayed empty from the 70s and 80s. It was, there might have been I forgot, Kokomo's
right, behind it.
behind it, but that area was just kind of, what people said, it was just empty, or they would have like some different events maybe in the summer they would host there, but it was kind of a sore
Yeah,
spot.
it was a wreck. It
Yeah.
stayed a wreck, I mean, for years. An empty lot. I mean, after they took away the debris after the fire.
Hmm.
Um,
And a lot of the oyster factories,
right.
those were sold and made into condos and
Right, the one on the 6th Street,
mhm.
4th Street,
And
Sterling Creek
yes.
used to be a shipyard. My great grandfather, Shepherd Higbee, came from Northport
Hmm.
and opened up a combined blacksmith shop and um, boat repair shop, shipyard,
Hmm.
over there where that big condominium is now on
Hmm.
Sterling Creek there, at the end of Sterling Avenue.
Yes.
Um, so
That's where they had the Manhattan.
the ships, the boats,
Oh, that's for the
uh,
boats. I'm thinking of this other thing where they were making out of Manhattan
making fertilizer maybe.
fertilizer. Yeah.
There was an oyster factory. My brother worked in there, Shelter Island Oyster Factory, right
That's
where in the Sterling Avenue, right where that big hotel condominium house is
yes.
now.
Yes.
But just to the south of that was where my grandfather and Tuttle, somebody named Tuttle,
Hmm.
Tuttle Higbee Blacksmith Boat Shop,
Hmm.
was located.
Did you know the blacksmith
Paul?
Paul's
Yeah.
I forgot his last name.
I didn't know him. We as kids, we would stop by there and watch him. He was always, as I recall, very pleasant. But yeah, I mean, say I knew him, that's going too far. But I knew of him
Yeah.
and saw him working and so on in his shop.
Similar, I think when you had visited last time to the library, you said you talked about Whitney Hubbard at the house over here,
Sure, yeah,
or
yeah.
was he usually outside painting in the?
Well, we would see him outside in that little alcove back there.
Mm-hmm.
But he was always dressed to the nines. He had a tie on, a suit, and so on. And he would walk around the neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
I remember what he looked like, maybe because his face was revived in my mind by
For the
the
exhibition.
the exhibition, right?
Yeah.
But his wife taught piano, and my sister took piano lessons from her. And yeah, I remember my sister saying the place smelled to high heaven.
Yeah. Like with all the cats.
Yeah, I think that was, yeah, that kind of strange, but
Yeah.
Whitney Hubbard. So I didn't know him,
Mm-hmm.
there again. I knew of him and would see him, but I didn't know him.
Yes. Yes.
Another old timer who was around.
Mm-hmm. And there were other like events just going through Greenport. There would be a lot of parades, and there still continues to be a lot of parades. But there was also the circus
It's a polo ground.
at the polo ground.
Every summer, carnival would come,
Yeah.
and then the circus. Usually, circus followed. I think the carnival.
Yeah.
Maybe my memory is wrong about that, but that was a big deal for the town to have that kind of entertainment, and the whole town, the rides and so on, the Ferris wheel and merry-go-round, all that sort of stuff. It was a big deal. But the parades, the parades were, especially for maybe the first 8, 9, maybe even 10 years after the war, they were a big deal. Parades, and there were bands that would show up that were made of, weren't high school sponsored or organization sponsored. They were bands, independent bands with volunteers and so on who got together and appeared in marching roles and parades around Long Island. Good musicians. And every summer, I guess the July 4th parade, there would be floats. People would make floats up, various themes and so on. That was another big deal of, a lot of community participation and togetherness, once again. I mean, it was togetherness except for black people who they were
more
relegated to 3rd Street and North 2nd Street and maybe a little bit around Center Street. But participating in stuff like that, all the years that a couple of years I worked bagging groceries in the AMP, the only time African-American black folks would come in would be late on a Saturday. And they would come in several families as a group.
Not by themselves.
And you never saw them in restaurants. They went to the movie theater and stayed in one section on the lower side. Things began to change when I was in high school, I think. People like Bobby Howard, Kenny Mosby, Harvey Strange and so on, they would, were more integrated into youth groups.
Within the school and...
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But
felt more included than probably going back.
Yeah. Even the American Legion after the war, it was all white, except when in the early 50s, I can't remember the guy's name.
What about Carlos to Jesus?
They lived over on 6th Street, I think. Yeah, next to the railroad tracks.
Yes.
Yeah, Benny and Carlos.
And his father was a postmaster.
Right. But they weren't African-American black people.
Yes.
Black people,
Yes.
They were unto themselves, kind of.
Benny
was in my class for a while. I don't know whatever happened to him. He died only a couple of years ago, I think. He ended up in Riverhead, I think.
But you're saying within the Legion after the war, you didn't see any African Americans?
No, not until the guy whose name I'm trying to remember in the early 50s. And he, I don't know what branch of the service he was in, but he joined the Legion, and they, accepted him. I think my father was not a liberated person, let us say. He was a prejudiced man. He belonged to the Ku Klux Klan, and after he came out of the Marine Corps in the 1920s, it was a branch downtown. I think they used to meet where the Masons, that building over Goldsmiths, used to be Goldsmiths.
Not Masonic
Lodge.
Temple or...
Temple, yeah.
Yeah.
It closed down. Bobby He'll come. He was from Orient. He tried to get me to join the Masons, but I wasn't having any of it. All that secret stuff.
Yeah. No, that's interesting, though.
Yeah, I never knew that about the Ku Klux Klan. I don't think maybe no one in my family knew. I don't know, but I learned about it from Sparky Coyle, who was the railroad rail freight guy.
Okay.
Handled.
I've heard that name before.
He was a big deal in Greenport. He was I don't know if he was a businessman, but he ran the rail freight office out of the building that is now the Railroad Museum of Long Island down there on 4th Street.
Yes.
On the west end of that building is where the freight would come in, and he would oversee. His daughter Penny graduated with me from high school. Anyway, one time I was calling her, he picked up the phone, and he said, "Higbee, David Higbee, you Jonas' son?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, your father and I joined the Ku Klux Klan together." I said, "Oh." I knew my father had attitudes.
But you didn't know.
But I didn't know that.
Yeah.
He had real bad attitudes. So.
Yeah. But, no, I think I had maybe like one or two other questions. Just coming up to being here in the 90s, and you talked about Greenport changing at that time and going through the 2000s and coming up to today. What do you think of Greenport today?
I think it's I don't have any good feelings about it. I mean,
the way it's changed.
I know, right. I know it's a tourist town now. It wouldn't survive without it. All the business improvement district and all the merchants there, 95% of them, I would guess, are from out of town. People who actually own the stores, the physical locations, and run the stores are people not from here. And it's all, stuff you would find in Southampton. Those kinds of stores, kitschy stuff. It isn't a working man's town anymore at all. And my understanding is the student population in the high school is dropping steadily year to year.
Yeah, they've been talking more recently about consolidating.
Right.
Like Mattatuck and Cutchogue.
Right. Makes sense, to cut back on expenses.
Yeah.
If the student body is not there and continues to drop, and I read somewhere recently that 50% of the students in the high school are of Hispanic origin. So they're not, it's fine that they're here, and I wish them all well, but they're not local people, even though many of them have been here for probably decades and have worked hard to have, a family life and have a living and so on. But they're not the owners of the businesses down on Front Street and Main Street. Those are all, I would bet 95% of them are from somewhere else. I don't know that for a fact, but like I say, the only local people I know that I know of is Andy's Restaurant, and it was that store that sold.
Not Preston's?
Well, Preston's, yeah, you remind me of that, yeah, them too, but and it was Claudio's there for a long while too.
Claudio's, yes.
Yeah, not
recently.
Not now anymore. They changed the name too. So it's I don't come to Greenport restaurants, they're outrageous.
Yeah.
They're snotty.
When you do come back here and walk around, it just feels something different.
It's just not the old friendly, neighborly town it was that I was growing up in, and that, despite the difficulties of the 70s and 80s, remained pretty much a working class town.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. And, things like the Paradise Suites becoming the Frisky Oyster, the Coronet, Crazy Beans. I mean, where do these names come from? They're not, there's no soul. There's no meaning to those names. They're advertising.
More try to be catchy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
People have definitely mentioned that, and a lot of people do miss things about the way it used to be. I mean, obviously, people say obviously things change over time, and but you could still analyze, and is it really for the best of how it's changed, and also affordability of housing.
Oh,
Because you said when you bought in the 90s, I mean, it was
mid-90s.
yeah, it was really cheap.
Yeah.
And now it's just most people that
The house that I purchased from my brother's estate, I think I paid $135 for it.
Okay.
And it recently sold for $1.3 million.
Wow.
And it's just an old farmhouse with a nice pool.
Mm-hmm.
But on a nice Alvis Lane, nice road,
Okay.
A lot of farming activity around there and so on.
Yeah.
1.3 million. When not long ago, when I saw the real estate advertisement that a house down the end of 6th Street
Mm-hmm.
on the right heading south, I think it sold for $2 million. I cut it out of the newspaper and sent it to my brother, and I said, "This tells you everything you need to know about the current state of Greenport."
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, that house, next to that house, as I recall, maybe there was one house between it and that oyster factory, but there was a huge pile of oyster shells that smelled to high heaven down the end of that street.
Yeah, people said it used to have that smell back then.
Oh, big time. There's one up here on Sterling Avenue, one down where Mitchell Park is.
But then they said over at the bank, a lot of the fishermen would go in there and it would smell in the bank, but then people would say, "Oh, that was the smell of money."
Yeah. 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 Well, the fishermen, I mean, the bunker boats, they would come once a year.
Mm-hmm.
And there were several privately owned fishing boats that employed a lot of local people. From Cardboard City, the Savone family, Cosmo Savone, that's what he did for a living. He'd be gone for a month at a time. I always went over to their house when I knew he came back because I knew they'd be eating well. And Italian food was, when I was introduced to that, it was like heaven.
Yes.
Compared to my mother boiled potatoes and boiled ham. And I was,
yeah.
The Irish cuisine. So, yeah, it's been, and I think steadily going in the same direction that started in the mid-90s. Tourism, that's what people, and they'll use every tactic they can, summon up to bring people here, more people, all year round. And that's the demand for housing, and these big apartment houses going up, or hotels going up in Southold. And I'm surprised one hasn't, I figured when the bank closed there at the end of Main Street, or the end of Front Street, where Front runs into Main, I figured that was going to be a hotel. There was some
talk about
that, but it didn't work out for some reason.
Yeah.
And talk about a valuable piece of property,
Mhm.
including also the skating rink.
Yes.
You know, my understanding is that is gets along pretty much on a shoestring.
Mhm.
And I'm a member, have been a member of that American Legion Post for, gee whiz, I don't know, 50 years or so. And I tried to get active once in the early aughts, 2000s, but there was very small membership, and they had the responsibility of that skating rink, and it was a big problem. Maintaining the rink, running the skating programs such that existed, and that's what they wanted members of the American Legion to do, and I wasn't interested in that, so I'm still a member of the Legion Post, but not. I've never been active in the Post. I get some rejuvenation. Costello and other so-called sons of the American Legion have rejuvenated the skating rink business, but my understanding is it's not. It has its moments, I guess, but
And then there's probably there's less veterans,
fewer for
fewer
sure.
that are
Yeah.
going into it. So
Yeah.
there's
That's why the American Legion came up with this admit sons of the American Legion who've never been
Yeah.
in the military.
Yes, because
I really am opposed to that. If you can't, entice veterans to join and participate,
and you're relying on the sons or the
right?
yeah,
It's not the same.
yeah.
I wish I could remember the name of that first black member. I think his son still lives. I've seen the name. Maybe not in the last 10 years or so, but his family was still around here. Mr. I can see the guy's face. Very pleasant man.
What class was he in?
I don't know that he went to Greenport High School,
Oh, okay.
but
Okay.
all of a sudden he was here in Greenport and a member of the Legion, and they, in 52, 53, I don't think maybe there was a great deal of sentiment to try and keep him out.
Mm-hmm.
My father probably would have been in that group, but I forget his name. Anyway, you also wanted to know something about the Tuesday crew.
Yes, that was another
Question. I don't know if I guess not.
We didn't talk
on
about
the record. When the Regina Maris ship was in Greenport, docked at Claudio's Harbor. Long story about what happened to that and so on. But when it left Greenport, it went to Glen Cove, and the guys who were volunteering on the ship decided to stick together and do some projects for nonprofits and museums out here, and which is what they did. I joined them. Actually, I was present when the ship left, and I wasn't a carpenter, didn't know the first thing about it, but they encouraged me to join the Regina Maris crew. I became secretary treasurer of the foundation, and sort of an organizer, that kind of thing. So they encouraged me to continue along with them and to help out as best I could, which is what I did. They said, nail this nail there, and I nailed the nail there, and learned how to use a few tools. But over time, they decided to leave the name Regina Maris Crew behind because of its association with what happened to the ship in Greenport and the betrayal that they felt on the part of the Business Improvement District, the mayor, and Billy Claudio, the owner of the dock where the ship was docked. That's another long story, but so they became the Tuesday crew and continued. There's not the only museum that we haven't done work for out here is the Orient Oyster Pond
Oyster
Society.
Ponds Historical.
Right.
Yeah.
We've never worked for them. We've never done work for Sterling, but we're going to start there this coming
So-
Tuesday. We've done a lot of work for the Railroad Museum, both here and in Riverhead, Halleckville Museum Farm.
Mhm.
Probably over the years has occupied a third to half of our Tuesdays.
Wow.
And we've done a lot of work there. The Mattatuck Historical Society, Cutchogue, Southold, the Wildlife Rescue Center in Hampton Bays.
Hmm.
Did a lot of work over there and other places as well. And it's been, by my count, counting the 9 of us that are still active, there's been 29 guys who have participated with the group and, dropped away over time because of illness or whatever. So I keep a running log of the projects, 58 pages, I think now, 150, 160 individual projects. It's done a lot of good, had a lot of fun together, good group of guys, very collegial. All decisions and plans are made cooperatively and by the group. I'm sort of the coordinator of the group. And as time and age have caught up with me, my role has diminished to making the coffee, helping to clean up, and doing the coordinating with various people around who want our services. So it's been, every Tuesday for 25 years or more.
Yes.
We're still going.
Yes, there's always new projects.
Oh, yeah. And we've got 2 guys now who are real master carpenters.
Okay.
One guy who was a retired electrician from New York City. A couple of other guys who they know carpentry work from teaching themselves and, doing projects and of various kinds. So been a great contribution to and a remarkable record of achievement by this group of guys over the years. We had one guy who died in 2024, 2024, sorry, who was 99 years old when he passed away. And he used to drive over here every Tuesday from Sag Harbor.
Wow.
And he was the guy who usually, at the end of the day, when we were cleaning up, putting tools away and so on, he would look around and he would say, well, we did some good here today. That was John Anderson. And that sort of became the motto for the group. We did some good here today. And it's true.
Yes.
Like I say, remarkable history of achievement in helping places out.
Oh, definitely. That was good because I almost forgot about that. And I think we covered everything. Was there any last minute things you'd like to say or discuss that we haven't touched on?
Not really. I mean, I don't know what the future holds for this village. I think it's going to be more of the same. I don't know how, the pressure on the North Fork to develop. The Peconic Land Trust has done a tremendous job in conserving land. South Old Town, the current supervisor is very on board about saving land from development. That's not a worry for Greenport, except in regard to people coming, more and more people coming here. And so there's going to be pressure to build more hotels and motels and that sort of thing where people can stay while they're here, spending their money and keeping these shops and so on, restaurants and so on in business.
As well as more housing, but then how do you balance affordable housing as well as...
I think that in the early 2000s, there was an effort, I forget the name of the group. I went to several meetings, but sort of dropped out when I concluded that it wasn't going to go anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Their approach was to, like Habitat for Humanity,
Mm-hmm.
purchase a house, fix it up, and sell it to someone who, certain income levels and so on qualified for the help.
Mm-hmm.
That did never bear any fruit out here. And I think talk about affordable housing is just lip service. Unresolved issue. And where all the people stay, they're not owning houses in Greenport, they're renting. And over time, those houses, just like happened on Second Street,
Mm-hmm.
they get bought up by outsiders and fixed up, and they become B&Bs and all that sort of thing.
Airbnbs. And,
Catering to the business downtown.
Mm-hmm. So you're not going to have, we could continue to lose that sense of community.
For sure.
Because it's just kind of rotating through that touristy summer.
I know a couple of people, workers whom I know are here illegally. Mm-hmm. And where they live, one lives in Greenport and one in Southold, they keep their whereabouts to themselves, mm-hmm. Discuss it, but they have no hope of owning a place around here, and yet they're tied to the locality now because their kids are in school or something like that. They're not optimistic about long-term residence here. Mm-hmm. If only because of economic woes or mm-hmm. because this current administration pursues its what I like to refer to as a boxcar solution to immigration. Mm-hmm. No, I'm not in favor, as you probably can tell.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. No, that doesn't leave many options for.
No.
And then there still needs. There is a service industry out here, but a lot of people have to commute from farther away, or they're in bad housing conditions.
Right. I think the whole immigration question is, the whole country and our economy is benefited from the presence of people who are here illegally, cheap mm-hmm. labor. Mm-hmm. We've all benefited from it, one way or another. Dishwashers in restaurants, for example, earning minimum wage or something, keep down the cost of the meal, mm-hmm. to put a simple example. Landscaping, mm-hmm. There aren't people going to be, high school kids. I cut grass when I was in high school. My brothers worked on potato farms, but that isn't going to happen anymore.
No.
It'll be immigrant labor that fills those voids to the extent they exist. Mm-hmm. So there's no representation that I know of commercially. I guess there are a couple of businesses. I'm not even sure about that. I was going to say maybe a couple of businesses in Greenport are owned by former people who came here and became citizens. Mm-hmm.
There might be one or two.
It might be one or two, but
yeah,
the bulk of the immigrant labor is, like various landscaping companies. Pine Oaks, they got a fine crew there. They mm-hmm. do good work, and those guys work hard. But they're just getting along, mm-hmm. And he's got a lot of guys working for him. Mm-hmm. It's he's got a big business, mm-hmm. and they do well. And those guys work hard. Summertime from 8 o'clock till dusk every day.
Yes.
You're not going to find high school kids,
That are going to do
American
that.
kids who want to do that.
No.
So
Yeah. No, it's tough moving forward and seeing what's going to happen, whether on Greenport or the national level.
yeah,
Uh,
I mean the pressure on the roads, the facilities,
okay.
the
Yeah.
more people coming out here, tourism, and so on, the costs of running the town in the village are gonna go up.
Mm-hmm.
More
It has
policemen,
to. Yeah.
more firemen, volunteer firemen. I know they're constantly looking for guys to
Mm-hmm.
participate. That was a big deal when I was a kid. The fire department, being a member of the fire department, and the celebrations they would have,
Mm-hmm.
the parades, the demonstrations of hosing and climbing ladders, and
Yeah.
every year, every summer, there was a big event involving the fire department and people. It was a very big. Everyone belonged to the fire. My father didn't. I don't know why, but it was talk about a community thing,
Mm-hmm.
and it's on hard times now.
A lot of people say that's kind of the last community hub left where you can kind of go and see what people coming together.
Yeah.
But they're struggling, and like the calls have gone up every year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I foresee that they're going to have to start hiring professional firemen in South Old Town in the not too distant future, because the pressures on volunteer firemen are great. The training requirements are onerous in some respects, and for young men, even middle-aged men, to spare the time from where they're working and so on, becoming more and more difficult. And so I don't know whether Riverhead has a...
I think they have paid EMS.
Oh, okay.
Well, it's going that way.
Yeah. So that's one aspect of the way the town... I mean, we had a local police force, too.
Yes. Yes.
And everybody knew everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And, Whitey Howard would come up and break up the fights between my mother and father. And he's now buried right behind them in Sterling Cemetery. I would say, yeah, he's maintaining the peace into the, but Hooker Smith, there were numbers. The shoe store owner, Holton Brandy, Nick Martosha, the barber, they ran numbers from, I guess what entity ran those number rackets, they were the local guys and local people, including the chief of police would come in and put down his bets while I was getting a haircut. So
Yeah.
now the scandal that erupted with Bobby Walden ended the police department, Greenport Police Department. So now it's all Southold, and those guys, there's no locality to it anymore.
Yes.
So you're right. I think the fire department is probably the last bastion of local participation and you're performing a duty for the community.
Yes.
Free. Voluntarily.
Yes. No, definitely.
Anyway,
No, I think we covered quite a bit. No, but I want to thank you so much for taking the time to come on the
Yeah, it was a pleasure.
podcast today and
Yeah.
share your story and discuss your memories and thoughts on the village and the North Fork. So thank you so much for coming on.
You're welcome. I enjoyed it. So brought back a lot of things I hadn't thought about in a long time.
Yes.
So
Thank you.
including Connie Dulala.
Well, I hope you enjoyed episode 235 with David Higbee. I want to thank you for listening to the Floyd Memorial Library podcast, and we'll see you next time.